Hello everyone, I'm Planner776 here for the Valentine's Day banner. Yeah, I think that's when it is. We do know the characters on it because we literally reacted to the FEH channel for this, but the question still remains what their kits and PRFs are. So, well, let's see that, starting here with Valentine's Takumi.
Day of devotion, huh?
Who is, a blue tome armor. That actually excites me. I don't know how many people know this, and with a PRF as well, you can count the number of ranged armors with a PRF there are on one hand, not even a full hand. First one was Picnic Flora, second one was Joe Marth, third one was Valentine's Robin. We're on number 4, okay? In the entire history of Fire Emblem Heroes, we're on 4 ranged armors with a PRF. So, you know, pretty narrow field of competition here, not gonna lie. Let's see if it's a good one. So yeah, Blue Tome, the weapon is the Dawn Sweet Box. Accelerate special trigger, cooldown count -1. At the start of combat, if unit's HP is greater than or equal to 25%, grants attack speed defense res +5 to unit, and inflicts attack speed -4 and attack speed -X on foe during combat, where X is equal to 3 times the number of allies within 2 spaces of unit, whose attack at the start of combat is greater than or equal to unit's attack -4, max 6. Okay, so he wants allies around who have similar or more attack to him, and at full power he's getting +5 to all stats and inflicting attack speed -10 on the opponent. Hang on, I lost my spot. And also, the following effects will occur based on the value of unit speed minus foe's speed. If greater than or equal to -4, reduces damage from foe's first attack during combat by 30%. If greater than or equal to 0, when unit deals damage to foe during combat, restores 7 HP to unit, triggers even if 0 damage is dealt. And if greater than or equal to 4, foe's attack can trigger foe's special and the unit has weapon triangle advantage. Inflicts special cooldown count +1 on foe before foe's first attack during combat. Cannot exceed foe's maximum special cooldown. Okay, so putting it all together, this is a very Picnic Flora-ish kind of weapon. I say this because I'm very familiar with what Picnic Flora's weapon does. Picnic Flora's weapon gives her +8 to all stats, inflicts attack speed defense -8 on foe based on a res check, reduces damage from foe's first attack during combat by 30%, and I think the rest of it's kind of different because there's a whole follow-up prevention thing for Flora, whereas Takumi here gets healing and a Brave Tiki kinda decharge, except the Brave Tiki kinda decharge only works against opponents who he has color triangle advantage against. So red units with pre-charged specials aren't going to be able to actually have pre-charged specials against Takumi. So that's Duochrome. And it's also any unit that's stolen Arcane Ophelia's whole kit. Those are the red units with pre-charged specials. Well, so yeah, it's definitely a viable weapon, just based on the similarity to Picnic Flora. The fact that it's based on a speed check might make it a little tough, just because, well, Picnic Flora's one is based on a res check, right? And a lot of highly offensive units who saves are normally scared of don't really stack res that high necessarily. Takumi is speed-based, so he actually cares about outspeeding the opponent, which is potentially also going to be pretty tough given that he also presumably wants to build defensive stats for survivability. You can't rely on just speed alone to live. But the healing is nice, especially with that damage reduction. The decharge effect I think is a little specific to rely on, but cool. And one last thing, in terms of speed-based fast saves, there is a very notable unit competing for this role. His name is Duomarth, and Duomarth is absolutely terrifying because Duomarth doesn't tank things, he just kills them, which turns out is a much better way of doing things if you can pull it off. As for the rest of his kit, he has Luna, he has Swift Stance 3, okay, he has Savvy Fighter. It's good to see Savvy Fighter make a return, previously only available on Valentine's Lucina, who wasn't necessarily a unit that you really wanted to fodder off for Savvy Fighter, because she was very strong on her own account. And in the C slot, a new save skill, Attack Speed Fast Save. If foe uses a you fast save, and you get attack speed +4. This is a fast save skill that didn't exist before. The number of units who want to use it is fairly small, but one of them I've already named in this review, that's Duomarth. So, and Savvy Fighter is pretty good on Duomarth as well, by the way, because it gives him null follow-up defensively. So, this is a very good unit to follow Duomarth. Also seemed pretty decent on its own account, just because, again, it's filling that Picnic Flora niche of being a ranged fast saver. I'd say a little stronger as a fast saver than, to name another random example, of Valentine's Robin. I say another random example, the only other example. I call Takumi stronger than Valentine's Robin, on the same level as Picnic Flora, is my review. Let's see some animations, shall we? Taking 0 damage from that blue flyer. So they're not really showing off 30 plus 30 is 50% damage reduction he's getting, but, well, we don't need to. We can do the maths ourselves. Leo is up next. We already know he has loads of res, not much defense, green bow, cavalry unit. We're starting out here, okay, because we applied gravity. I guess so. Pause on his kit. Dusk Bloom Bow is his PRF. Accelerate special trigger, cooldown count -1, effective against flying foes at start of player phase or enemy phase. If any foes in cardinal direction of unit have a res lower than unit's res, inflicts defense res -7 and gravity on those foes through their next actions. This is a keyword we've not really seen much until right now, at start of player phase or enemy phase. So even though it's a cardinal direction check that applies gravity, similar to what Loki does, this allows you to get one column on player phase and then a second different column gravity down when enemy phase ticks around. It also lets you deal with some other tricky things because it's specifically happening on enemy phase. Like, if this is a unit on defense, I don't know if you're running this on defense, we'll read the rest of his bow and find out, but if you're running this on defense, this applies on offense turn 1. That's what triggering enemy phase means, and very few skills that have a time trigger can do anything on offense for phase 1 if you're on defense, so that's a big deal. If you initiates combat or is within 2 spaces of an ally, grants +5 to all stats during combat, and the following effects will occur based on the value of unit's res minus foe's res. Greater than or equal to 1, unit makes a guaranteed follow-up attack. If greater than or equal to 4, unit deals damage equal to 20% of unit's res during combat, excluding area of effect specials. And if greater than or equal to 7 and unit initiates combat, neutralizes effects that prevent unit's follow-up attacks and reduces damage from foe's first attack during combat by 30%. Okay, so pretty similar to Picnic Flora again. Kind of Picnic Flora inspired on several weapons this banner. You win that res check, you get guaranteed follow-up, 20% of your res as damage, and null follow-up, offensive half, and 30% DR. Which is pretty neat, especially considering his A slot, Remote Mirror, if he initiates combat, grants attack +7, res +10 to the unit during combat, and reduces damage from foe's first attack during combat by 30%. 230% is roughly 50%, more or less, because it's 70 times 70 is 0.49, so 51%, but you call it 50, it's close enough. From foe's first attack, pretty handy, and then he's presumably hoping to kill with his second attack just because he has no defensive half of follow-up prevention or null follow-up, and he doesn't get any damage reduction on that second one, and his defense is tiny. And then in the B slot, attack, defense, far, trace 3 enables Kanto, and then attack, defense -3 on foes during combat. It's an interesting weapon. I don't know if he's necessarily super strong as an actual combat unit. Again, we know his stats. Being as fragile as he is going to be a big issue for him. But as a support unit, being able to gravity in cardinal directions on both phases, and that's a pretty hard res check to beat, by the way, that has a lot of potential. And I know people have run regular 4 in the past just to beat down cav lines, so this guy can potentially take it a step further than that and gravity down 2 columns of a cav line at once. That's some real potential right there, like really just shut that team archetype down. Not that cav lines are particularly common at the moment, but well, Embla cav line is something that is possible now, so we might see him. All in all, pretty decent unit. I probably won't be grabbing him, but he is at the very least slightly more effective than every other Leo we've seen ever.
I got you something.
There's the iceberg, pretty sizable iceberg. Now here's Hana.
Becoming a great samurai is the best gift I can give. Just hope that's enough.
Who are you giving this gift to, exactly, Hana? The gift of yourself becoming a great samurai? Anyway, sword, armor, inheritable weapon, the Petal Fall Blade. At start of combat, if the user's HP is greater than or equal to 25%, grants attack speed +5 during combat, and also if unit speed is greater than foe speed, neutralizes effects that guarantee foes follow-up attacks, and effects that prevent units' follow-up attacks, and deals +5 damage, excluding when dealing damage with an area of effect special. So it's kind of attack +10, speed +5, and null follow-up, more or less. Very simple weapon, but very strong at the same time. Null follow-up, previously infantry locked, now a lot easier to get on infantry as well because you can seal it, it's not just your B slot. But on every class of unit that's not infantry, null follow-up effects are pretty dang hard to get your hands on. So, for your cavalry, your flyers, and especially your armors, fast armors, so like Manuela, I guess, this is a very valuable weapon to pick up. And the rest of the kit, Ignis, yeah. Special Fighter 3, still one of the best fighter skills around for general use. Of course, Hardy Fighter is a little higher on the defensive side, but just controlling special economy is really big for defense and for offense. So, get those specials, buddy. And in the C slot, Armored Stride 3, finally inheritable on what I believe is a 4-star demote. So, pick that up as well. It's kind of like Armor March, great, but requires you to run 2 armors. Just run Armored Stride instead, requires you to run solo armor. How about that? Nothing particularly exciting going on here, which I mean makes sense, it is Hana, but that is at the very least a very, very cool inheritable weapon. I know a lot of units would like this, and that's especially saying something in the current era when arcane weapons are on the table. Leaf's arcane sword is very good, but sometimes you just want null follow-up. See the animations?
Do you like it?
I think it's alright. And lastly, the unit that's got us very excited and the unit that had better have inheritable skills
To enjoy the festival
is
together.
Duo
Me
Elise,
too. It's a lot of fun. Do your best.
who is, of course, a staff cavalry unit. And look at this kit. That's a lot of skills, buddy. Let's start with the weapon. Dusk Dawn Staff for counter-attack. So that's built-in Dazzling Staff. I can never remember which one's which. Accelerate special trigger. Cooldown count -1. Max cooldown count value cannot be reduced below 1. That's a very exciting line to see because, well, to begin with, this is the first slaying staff ever. And they have to put that second thing in because staffs are currently the only units in the game who can get a base cooldown count of 1. All other classes, they very deliberately put the minimum cooldown of specials at 2 because slaying weapons mean you can go down to 1. They don't want you to be walking around with a 0 count special. For staffs, they do have 1 count specials as a real option, so, well, can't let it go down to a 0 count special, otherwise you just always have it. Gotta have that line in slaying. Very funny. If you initiate combat auras within 2 spaces of an ally, grants attack speed +6 to unit, neutralizes effects that prevent units' follow-up attacks, grants special cooldown charge +1 to unit per attack during combat, and the highest value applied does not stack, and after combat if unit attacks inflict status on target and foes within 2 spaces of target, preventing counterattacks through their next actions. Hello, Flash Staff. Okay, there's a lot of effects that staffs have, and, well, I mean, this has a pretty good complement of offensive effects, attack speed +6, offensive NFU, and I mean, the defensive half doesn't really matter because the foe can't counterattack anyway, special acceleration, but no, it's Flash. It's very, very worthwhile running around with Flash, especially in 2023 because we're back in an era when very few units are running around with Null C Disrupt. The 2 units you're likely to run into at all that have Null C Disrupt are Ascendant Fjorm and Goto. Those are the 2. And everyone else, no matter how tanky they are vulnerable to just being flashed up and then chipped down. So that's very, very exciting there. Return Plus. We've seen this before. It's a healing special that also is reposition. So being able to reposition and heal at the same time, great. Reposition already a very useful movement skill. I'd say arguably the most useful general purpose movement skill. And just being able to do your whole staff healer thing at the same time, great fun. In the special slot, Holy Pressure. If an assist skill is used, unit special cooldown count does not go down. Okay, so you can't pre-charge this by healing people. Other staff specials, that's another staff unique mechanic, their assists charge for special. Holy Pressure does not get charged by assists. When special triggers, boosts damage by 45% of foes' res, calculates damage from staff after combat damage is added. And if this special is triggered during combat, inflicts gravity on target and adjacent foes after combat. Okay, so it is the first damaging staff special. Free cooldown, 45% of foes' res. In other words, this is almost a Luna. It's slightly less than a Luna. It's like 5% less than a Luna. damage from staff being calculated after combat damage is added, I think refers to the fact that without Wrathful, staffs naturally do half damage. I'm not sure what calculating it after combat damage is added means, because I don't exactly know the staff damage formula when Wrathful isn't involved, because I don't really do combat with staffs that don't have Wrathful, to be completely honest. But I assume that's either good or bad, one or the other. And if you're running into foes who are running Mystic Boost, then your stuff will still be kind of weak, I guess. But hey, staffs have Luna, and then the gravity effect. Woo boy, that's the other very strong staff effect. Brave Camilla did it first. Now everyone can do it, just so long as they've got their special charged. In the A slot, attack speed catch 4, makes sense. In the B slot, Poetic Justice doesn't say much about whether it's inheritable. I was expecting it to be named something like Wrathful Staff 4, but Poetic Justice could be anything, really. I mean, it doesn't look like a PRF skill necessarily either, but anyway, what it does is it calculates damage from stuff like other weapons, inflicts speed -4 on foe during combat, and unit deals damage equal to 15% of foe's attack. If the calculates damage from stuff like other weapons effect is neutralized, damage from stuff is calculated after combat damage is added. I still don't know exactly what that entails, but basically, you either should or shouldn't be worried about getting Mystic boosted at. Okay, so it's a Wrathful Staff, except it has a bit of stat on it, speed -4, and unit deals damage equal to 15% of foe's attack. So, saying they've got somewhere between, I don't know, 60 and 100 attack, somewhere in that zone, because, you know, it's modern Fire Emblem. Their attack stat could be anything, you know. But at 60 attack, that is 9 damage, pretty great. At 100 attack, that's 15 damage, pretty great. And being able to add that just on all of your attacks means that alongside Holy Pressure, this is just a nice little boost to every single staff's offensive output. Well, I say every single staff. I actually think the fact that this is a Wrathful effect, and the fact that Holy Pressure is what it is, means that the number of staffs that actually want... the number of non-generic staffs that actually want to run this is pretty low. Because most non-generic staffs, most PRF staffs, have either a built-in flashing or a built-in Wrathful effect, but most of them have the built-in Wrathful effect. The only ones that have built-in flashing are, let me think, Mikoto, Brave Veronica, Brave Camilla, Mist, Jenny, Elamine, and I think that's it. And if you look at that list, Brave Camilla doesn't really want to inherit Holy Pressure necessarily. I mean, it increases her damage because it's basically a Luna, but the gravity effect is not really super worth it. Brave Veronica, Mist, Jenny, when have you ever seen those units? And I think might have been Jenny also has gravity in her PRF again, so rule that one out. Mikoto could use Poetic Justice and Holy Pressure, but Mikoto also, her key niche is that she's a Flash Staff, which Duo Elise here is also a Flash Staff, so kind of role overlap there. Do you want to get rid of the fancy new Duo unit to power up Mikoto who does the same thing? Difficult question. So that basically just kind of leaves Elamine. as the only unit of the non-generic staffs who wants both of these skills at the same time, or gets the most out of both of these skills, because, I mean, having said that, every staff kind of wants both of these skills just because they are, by definition, best in slot for damage. If you're running a damaging staff build, there is now exactly one damaging staff special, and this is a raffle staff with extra damage tacked onto it, so you're not really beating this. But every other unit is kind of like, why am I mean, they're best in slot, but I'm just getting incremental gains out of it, right? It's not like this is going to magically turn a staff unit that's not great into a staff unit that's really great. It's just adding Luna and a few points of damage. Single, low double-digit points of damage. And then the C-slot odd recovery free. The recovery skills are just nice to have. Get rid of penalties. You don't want them around. It only applies on your turns, so it's better for offensive teams than defensive teams, because if you're defending, a lot of penalties get reapplied at the start of enemy phase anyway. But yeah, all in all, strong unit, very strong fodder, but very strong fodder that in a lot of cases I think you would rather keep on this unit as opposed to foddering it off to anyone else. So that's a very funny outcome. Let's see their animations. Oh, the big pink bubbles. And duo skill, because they are, of course, a duo unit. Grants dominance to unit allies within 2 spaces of unit. Inflicts defense res -7 on foes within 3 columns or 3 rows centered on unit through their next actions. Very straightforward, very strong. We've seen duo units grant dominance before. I think that was duo Micaiah of Soph. Dominance, for those who don't recall, is the broadleaf status effect. It grants extra damage based on the penalties on the foe. So defense res -7 and dominance all added together is adding up to 14 extra damage from the dominance due to the defense res -7, and an extra 7 damage from the defense res -7, obviously. Obviously it can stack even higher if you're able to stack even more penalties on the unit. On the other hand, if the foe has penalty negation, it does nothing, but, well, you win some, you lose some. So, yeah, very, very strong in terms of damage. With a good dominance setup, you can get a lot of damage on pretty much any unit. Very handy. And then they're going to show us the bit that well, they're going to show off the actual duo skill first, but they're going to show off the bit that I'm most excited for out of all of this banner, which is...
Please, be careful.
Here it comes. Staff special quotes. Hundreds of these things in the game, you've never heard any of them. Let's frickin' go. Obviously Paralog. I'd be all surprised about who the Tempest Tri unit is, but we already know that as well. It's Effie. Let's go, Effie. Come to think of it, Effie might have a null follow-up axe as well. That's exciting. So yeah, all in all, general thoughts on the banner. Takumi, interesting, kind of a side grade to Picnic Flora. Leo is Leo. Interesting support skills. Slightly unusual combat skills, but I think a little outclassed in combat by other units potentially. But again, the support is interesting. Hana is Hana, and the staff, really strong stuff, but the actual inheritability of it is hilariously kind of awkward at the moment. I'm going to pick up a copy anyway, just because I think flash staves are one of the most underrated threats in the metagame at the moment. But you can do whatever you want with them. I don't mind. Anyway, that's it from me. I'll see you all again very soon. Penrost out. Oh, apparently my eyes have been... Oh, my face tracking's just broken completely. How long has it been like that for? Oh, goodness. Well, I can't react to this video again, so you're just going to have to put up with it.